world. The stage is now mine. These are the ones who can tumble higher, rotate faster, land firmer, and forget all about what came before them. Their moment is now. The site is an ancient city in Baden-Württemberg, West Germany, an industrial city that prides itself on its work ethic, its stick-to-itiveness, and its history. Stuttgart is a bit of a secret, a city that brings the surrounding countryside home with it. It is fall, and the season is all around us. It is a city that this week has its best face on, all dressed up for the world to come visiting, and thus it has. It's a city whose best-known asset is seen on streets the world around. It is the home to Mercedes-Benz. But for tonight, it is the home to the very best in the world of another art form who will ply their trade for Stuttgarters and for the rest of the world. ESPN, the Total Sports Network, presents the 25th World Championships of Gymnastics. Tonight, the men's team competition. Hello everybody, I'm Barry Tompkins and welcome to the World Championships here in Stuttgart, West Germany. Tonight, the optional competition in the men's team event. With me for expert commentary, what better expert than Olympic gold medalist Bart Connor. And Bart, I guess you have to begin and maybe end with the Soviets. They have been simply awesome so far.
They are so strong, and they certainly set the pace for the rest of the world in international men's gymnastics. Their leaders in the competition currently are Chimov, who won the Olympic Games last year, Korobczynski, who's the current European champion, and third on their team is Mogilny, who's a two-time former world champion. So they're very strong. But I don't expect, even though they have a huge lead of 4.35, I don't expect that they'll slack off because they really like to set the pace for the rest of the world, and we're going to see a terrific show from them.
This, of course, the first major event since the Olympic Games in Seoul, so we have to talk about the Americans. They're already through with their competition. What can we look for?
Well, for the U.S. team, they're currently tied for second place. But technically, what happens with this session with the best 6 teams in the world, the U.S. will probably drop to a tie for 8th, which certainly is an improvement on their 11th place finish in Seoul. It's still a young team for the U.S. Only Kevin Davis and Lance Rignald are returning from the Olympic Games in Seoul. The U.S. team did very well until the last 2 events. High bar and floor exercise, they had a lot of trouble. But I think things are looking much better for the U.S. team. Of course, we're not happy until we see the U.S. team in the medal contention again. But 8th place is certainly better than 11th place.
And we'll be seeing them all night long on videotape. Well, I am surrounded by Olympic medalists tonight. With me here, Kathy Johnson. And Kathy, let's talk about the battle for second place. And that may be the most interesting battle of the night.
Well, the toughest competition is certainly going to be for second place. East Germany, who won the silver medal in Seoul, is in second place right now. But they have to compete without their 2 top gymnasts, Olga Baron, who won a gold medal in Seoul, and also Mike Bella. Just behind them by .05 is China, and they were 4th in the Olympics, so they're really looking to move up here.
Who else can we look for tonight?
Well, right behind China, only 4/10 behind, is Japan, and they won the bronze medal in Seoul, and so you know they want to try and capture that back.
You know, a lot of times we talk about these programs and we say we might be seeing some of the best performers in the world. The simple fact is tonight we're going to be seeing all of the best performers in the world. More than a 3-ring circus, this is a 6-ring circus.
The 1989 World Gymnastics Championships are being brought to you by Certainteed Fiberglass Insulation, at home in America's smartest homes. By Burger King. If you want to give people what they want, sometimes you've got to break the rules. And by New Michelob Dry. One taste and you'll drink it dry.
This year,
Of course, the World Championships of Gymnastics. We have already completed the compulsory round of the team competition. Let's take a look at the results after the compulsories, and they, of course, count 50% of the total score. Soviet Union comfortably in first place, but there's plenty of competition behind them. East Germany right now is in second place ahead of China, Japan number 4, and Hungary number 5, and then it is Romania, Italy, the United States, West Germany, Bulgaria, and Cuba, rounding out the first 11 teams. But 50% of the score, of course, of tonight's competition goes into the final count. Bart, let's talk a little bit about what the judges are going to be looking for.
Well, this competition is actually called Competition 1B, which is the team final competition. And of course, most of the most difficult things to understand about the sport of gymnastics is the judging. So the best way to look at it is by breaking it down a little bit. In this competition, there's difficulty, execution, and combination requirements that the judges are looking for. The difficulty is worth 4.0. That's the A, B, C, D moves. The execution, of course, is the form and the technique. The combination is worth 1.0. The combination is specific requirements for each particular piece of event. That adds up to 9.4, and then there's 0.6 of a point remaining for risk, originality, and virtuosity. And we'll talk about those as we go on, because those are the little things the judges are looking for to build the score to a perfect 10.
I don't think there's any question we're going to see a lot of risk, and we're going to see an awful lot of virtuosity. The teams that we're going to be watching tonight are the 6 best in the world. The United States, having finished 8th in the compulsories, as we mentioned, has already completed its competition. We are going to show you as we go along exactly how the Americans did in the competition. And now we move to the final 6 teams. And on parallel bars, this is the team from Hungary, and the competitor that we're looking at is Zoltán Supola. And we're very early in this competition. We've already seen some remarkable scores.
Boy, he opened with a nice press to a handstand on one bar and completed 2 Healy twirls back to back. He has a good look. Nice clean form. There's an interesting move. It's called a D move, one of the more difficult elements being done. He did a drop peach below the bars and a straddle cut around to an L. Wow, nice combination for a dismount, and that's exactly what we're talking about in terms of originality, Barry.
And
that was a beautiful
just the beginning.
combination.
Only the beginning. And he had a little trouble in this event, actually, in the compulsory competition. He only wound up with a 9-2.
Right here, he does a Diamond-off all the way around to the single bar, continues through with a flyaway double back across the other bar. That is great stuff. One of the things, of course, the judges are looking for in the parallel bar event is underbar work, overbar work, as we've seen here. This is a swinging C element through underneath the bars, of course, that fulfills the requirement of a commensurate dismount, as well as one of the underbar values.
And now we wait for his score, and as we do, we watch Valentin Mogilny. The Soviet Union in floor exercise. We, of course, will pass the score on for Supola at his score, a 9-6. The competitor we were just watching on parallel bars. Competition here, we should tell you, moves very quickly. But we'll keep up with it as best we can.
So far, every one of the Soviet gymnasts has opened with a perfect laid-out double back mount. Excellent form. And without question, Mogilny has the style that really sets him apart from the other gymnasts. He's had a major problem in these important international competitions because he's had problem with consistency.
He's really one of the most beautiful gymnasts that I've ever seen. A perfect toe point. Look how straight the legs are. And the amplitude on every skill.
Now, do you think he gets some of his style and his execution from his wife, Olga Bichirova, who, of course, was the 1981 world champion?
I'm sure she adds her expertise in training.
As a matter of fact, he did not perform too well in a recent meet, and she was right on him, right now. And she was the one that said, basically, straighten your act out.
Well, she would have liked that routine there. Very clean, good form. There's no question that Soviets try to out-execute the other athletes. They have all the difficulty, all the elements of style and combination that are required. But one thing that they really concentrate on is the line and the execution and perfect technique. And I think it's the little things that make the differences at this level. And watch the position in this layout double back. Absolutely perfect in the air.
The thing that strikes me too, Bart and Kathy, is that every day they're seeing the best competition in the world just in practice.
There's no question that that really builds a very strong team. Just to get the attention of your coach, you have to look awesome every day in the gym.
Valentin Mogilny, we will wait for his score, and in the meanwhile, we will move over to the high bar, and the competitor on high bar, Adrian, I beg your pardon, it is, yes, Adrian Sandu. Adrian from Romania.
Here's his release combination, a reverse hecht to a Ginger, in a little close. Boy, more and more you're seeing the gymnasts do these combination of release elements. A few years ago, you could compete at a very high international level with one big release move. But now the gymnasts are doing 2 and many of them 3 release moves back to back to back.
Mogilny on floor exercise 9-7 a moment ago.
He really fights to stick that landing. That's a double twisting double back. And his coach there, Dan Greco, was a Olympic bronze medalist on the still rings a number of years ago and has done a great job with the Romanian program.
Adrian Shandu, and here's another look.
There's the reverse hecht. Now he's going to do the Ginger, back flip with a half twist. You can see he's in a little close and has to break form, but he continues through into giant swings. Once again, there's the reverse hecht over the bar. Sets up nicely, but you can see he's in a little close. Does a good job at maintaining the rhythm of the exercise, although he did have to break form. On the dismount, this is the best part of the exercise. 2 flips and 2 twists, even pointing his toes in the air. But he does have to fight to stick that landing.
9.55 for Adrian Shandu. These are the World Championships. We're in Stuttgart. I'm Barry Tompkins with Bart Connor and Kathy Johnson. Back with a lot more after this.
Here he's setting up for his release. There it is, a Gaylord, a little too far out. That move, of course, invented by my teammate, Mitch Gaylord. He first performed that 6 or 7 years ago. He did it in the tucked position. Gehrman here is trying it in the straddle position, a little more difficult. But you can see he's just a little pulled over the bar, right out on the end of his fingertips. Another inch in closer, and he would have made it easily.
Now, what will that cost?
Well, there's no question it'll be 0.5 of a point for the complete break in the exercise. Then he'll have to continue the exercise from that point. And this is not a good idea to just pull over and stop. The judges would rather see you just blast back into the routine. It looks as if he's somewhat disgusted with his performance, and so he doesn't have the same aggressive attitude that he showed earlier, but what a mount. Once he got back on the exercise, from a one-arm giant swing, he did a full twisting Ginger, which is one of the most difficult release moves being done. It's too bad he hasn't made this whole routine together, because this is big-time stuff.
And what a finish. Little
Double
step
twisting,
back.
double back.
Bart, let's talk about the judging criteria in floor exercise.
Now, Barry, in the men's floor exercise competition, the judges are looking for 3 specific combination requirements. The first is 3 different acrobatic connections, and those are the tumbling runs, and of course it has to have at least 1 C element, and I'll explain that as we go on. The second requirement is a strength part of at least B value, and that is usually a press to a handstand. Most gymnasts fulfill the requirement by doing some kind of press. And 1 static element on 1 leg or 1 hand, and that usually is an arabesque or a scale that gymnasts use before they finish their last tumbling run.
Meanwhile, we move over to Vladimir Artemov. One of the best. Oops.
Oh, out of bounds. Artemov, of course, won the all-around gold medal at the Seoul Olympics. Had a little trouble on his mount there. He used the layout double back that all of the Soviets are using here. Over-rotated, took a step. But once again, much like Mogilny, where Artemov gets his points, is his flexibility, as you can see there, his style. He's a very graceful performer.
Most of the Soviet male gymnasts actually have ballet training from early on in their careers. It really helps in this event.
The strategy in world-class gymnastics is somewhat controversial because many gymnasts are chasing the big trick. They're always looking for the one big trick. But the Soviets, where they beat you is with the excellent style and technique. They do the big tricks, but they have perfect form and perfect execution, as Artemov shows.
So just a little problem at the beginning. Last score on the high bar of Marius Gehrman, 9-3. So that fall hurt him dearly.
You can see this layout double back once again. He has excellent form. Beautiful position in the air. It's so difficult to maintain that kind of form. Had a little more power than he had planned on. And of course, the deduction is 1/10 of a point for taking a step, and then another 1/10 of a point because that step happened to be out of bounds.
Look at the scorer's table here, and another look at Artemov.
This is his dismount here, tucked double back. He usually does this better than that. He opened up a little early. Seemed like because he over-rotated the first tumbling run, he was perhaps holding it back a little bit in the second tumbling run. And in that case, he undercompensated.
You really have to respect him. He had such a big year last year, winning the Olympic Games, and not letting down, coming back for World Championships less than a year later.
9-6-0 for Artemov. Vladimir Artemov, and remember he had that 1 step out of bounds, and that is what cost him. Other than
That's
that,
a
though,
shaky
pretty good
start
routine.
for him. Yeah, it was a good routine, but 9-6 on the Soviet team, and certainly a 9-6 if you're hoping to win the all-around title here, and Artyomov is the favorite. He'd like to do much better than that. Of course, this is the team competition, and the